Let's check in at the moment, though, with Jeff Sessions. He's the ranking Republican on the committee. He's up in our booth now. He has been down in the room for these hearings over the last 2 days. Senator Sessions, let me start with this simple question. One of the questions coming in is, would she be specific? Would she meet the Kagan standard, the standard she set out in academia about nominees being more specific at these hearings? You had an exchange with her about Harvard, about Don't Ask, Don't Tell. She's talked about executive power, about Roe v. Wade, about gun rights. You may not like some of her answers, but is she being, in your view, candid with the committee?
I have to say I'm very troubled by her testimony, John. I thought that the points I raised with her she would acknowledge immediately. I've been very frustrated with the White House false spin out here about what really happened at Harvard. I was deeply disappointed that she seemed to have followed the White House spin and ignore the reality. She's suggested she was following the Third Circuit law when the Third Circuit law never applied at Harvard. She backed off of that. She said when she stopped giving the military equal access to the recruiting office on Harvard campus, and suggested that when Harvard changed that policy, it was after a meeting with the military, when in fact the military had to threaten to cut off funds to Harvard again, and that's when Larry Summers, then president of Harvard, reversed her policy. And in fact, the military documents show that she objected. So I was really troubled by this. It began to worry me that whether she had the intellectual honesty, the clarity of mind that you would expect on the Supreme Court of the United States, our highest court that demands clarity of thought, intellectual honesty, rigor in analysis. And I was disappointed, frankly.
That's a tough thing to say, that you question whether she lacks the intellectual honesty. That's not saying you disagree with her on her legal question. That's questioning her character, her intellectual honesty. I want to play a little bit of that exchange because I want you to explain to me why you think, at least you're skeptical, that she meets that test. But let's listen to some of that exchange.
Now, when you became dean, you personally opposed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy and felt strongly about it, did you not?
I do oppose the Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
And you did then?
And I did then.
And you, in 03, not long after you had became president, you said, quote, "I abhor the military's discrimination recruitment policy," close quote. "I consider it, quote, a profound wrong, a moral injustice of the first order," close quote. And you said that not within 6 months or so of becoming dean. And that was an email you sent to the entire law school.
Senator Sessions, I have repeatedly said that I believe that the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy is unwise and unjust. I believed it then, and I believe it now.
So, Senator, I'm going to assume that you would give her points for candor there on what she thinks of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, but in how the discrimination ban was implemented and how the recruiters were forced to go through the Veterans Office and how that all played out. Again, you're questioning her integrity here by saying you question her intellectual honesty. I want you to be as specific as you can in saying why you reached that conclusion.
Intellectual honesty is a state of mind that you can be absolutely precise in your handling of these kind of matters, and it is a skill, not so much a character fault. It's something a good judge or a lawyer develops over years. And I felt that she tried to distance herself from this whole matter, tried to suggest that she was merely following the law when that was not accurate, that she had reached an accommodation with the military after she had booted them out of the Career Services Office, and then they were let back on. She said it was after a meeting, when is pretty clear from the documents that they were threatened again by the military because the law was never in doubt. It was always enforced at Harvard, and they were about to lose their funding again, and Larry Summers overruled her opinion, apparently over her objection, and said the military should have full, complete access. So I thought overall it was an attempt to alter the reality of the situation. I was disappointed she just wasn't forthcoming about her leadership role in that. She spoke to a protest group opposing the policy. She was very engaged in all of this.
Senator Sessions, it's Candy Crowley. I want to ask you, continuing on this particular issue, you know now that she has obviously been opposed to the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy for some time. You have your version of what went on the Harvard campus. She has hers. In and of itself, is any of that a disqualifier to sit on the Supreme Court?
Well, she has her version and I have mine, but there is a true version, and we're going to get to that truth. We're not going to let this slide by as this is my opinion and this is your opinion, and it doesn't make any difference. There are true facts here,
okay.
And that I would say that it raises questions. I don't think she helped herself with that testimony today.
But do you think that your version, let us say and agree with you and stipulate that your version is correct, is that enough to keep her off the Supreme Court?
It raises additional questions in my mind. I didn't expect this kind of testimony. I didn't think that she would be, it seems to me, just going along with the White House spin on it that I have felt was inaccurate. She stood up. She went too far. She violated the law. There was never any legal threat to any legal overriding of the Solomon Amendment, which required not access to Harvard, but equal access to the Career Services Office. And she denied that without legal authority. I would have thought she would have admitted it and was disappointed she did not.
Senator Sessions, John King again. Let me try it this way. If you emerge from these hearings and you are not satisfied that you have either reached the truth or gotten her to acknowledge some things that you now view as misstatements or not consistent with reality, is this issue enough? If you are unhappy coming out, the Democrats have the votes, we assume. If they vote her out of committee, is this issue enough for you to say, I'm so unhappy, we should now consider the extraordinary step of a filibuster?
Well, I'm premature to say that, but I do think that the matter is not healthy where it lies. I think the nominee has gotten herself in a position that is not becoming of a person who'd like to be on the Supreme Court of the United States, who every day is required to use rigorous analysis, intellectual honesty, clear judgment. That's what we paid them for, not for politics, not for getting along, not for being a nice person, not being able to conduct strategy, but to rigorously analyze cases that come before them every day. And I was troubled by it. That's all I can say now.
Let me try it one more way. You say it's premature to make that decision. Republicans, including yourself as the ranking member, have said you viewed it as very unlikely you would stage a filibuster. Are you more likely right now as we speak than you were when you woke up this morning to consider that move and to go to Leader McConnell and say, you know what, in this case, I think we should try to block her with a filibuster?
Well, I'm more troubled about her nomination today than I was before now than when we started. I really was uneasy about the testimony. I don't think I'm being unfair, and so I am uneasy and more troubled today than before.
Senator Sessions, it's Gloria Borger. Are you just simply saying you do not trust Elena Kagan?
Well, what I'm saying is, having practiced before judges and seen great judges, having seen the clarity of testimony of John Roberts and Sam Alito, this would never have happened to them. Never.
What about Sonia Sotomayor?
And so I think this raises questions maybe about the gifts she has. Maybe her gifts are accommodation or political, or she's bright. There's no doubt about that. I don't think she's, a person that's dishonest fundamentally. But I just think that you expect a lot out of a person who sits at the highest court in our land.
Senator Jeff Sessions, ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee, looking at Elena Kagan as the next, the possibility of the next justice sitting on the Supreme Court. You will, as we know, have another round of questions. We will be listening to those. Thank you so much, Senator, for being with us.
Thank you.